me though, because I know you have your
All right. Hey,
prediction.
folks, we are live. Happy 2022. This is January, and this is the 47th edition of the monthly market update.
In Hawaii, there's so much to do. There's hula, there's surfing, and real estate too. We just two local guys with so much to say. So listen to the Real Estate Braddahs today.
All right. So, in this next, we'll try and knock this out pretty quickly. Some of these have been getting longer as the years have gone by, but 4 years later, you think we'd get the hang of it, and it'd be a little bit more exciting for you guys. But here we go. Dean let me go first with this. I'm launching my book on the 25th of this month. So if you guys would like to get a free copy and watch the audiobook version on YouTube, go to simplepassivecashflow.com/book. But I put this little bingo card of different predictions that are happening on maybe throughout 2022. Folks who are checking out this on the YouTube channel, you guys are lucky because you have all the graphics. But we'll try and read out aloud a lot of the headlines, the stuff we're talking about that you're seeing on the screen on the podcast. You guys can also check that out on iTunes, Google Play, etc.
I have a question, Ain. Is it true that for your audiobook, it's actually your voice? That's what the rumor is.
It actually is. And if you go to simplepassivecashflow.com/book, for a limited time, I don't know how long I'm going to have it on there, but I actually read every single word and recorded me on the camera. Kind of like I'm like doing like a fireside chat, reading a book to you. So if you're tired and you want me to read you a bedtime story, you can go to that webpage and you can go to the book.
Oh, that's interesting. And so there's a video portion too from that standpoint?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Sometimes I'll look at the camera and say snarky comments here or there.
Well, it wouldn't be a story about Lane if you didn't, right?
Yeah, if not, I'd probably fall asleep reading my own book.
Oh, welcome everybody. Episode 47. I think by now you guys hopefully know me. I'm Dean Ueda. I'm a real estate investor and realtor in Honolulu, Hawaii. You can find me on my YouTube site, youtube.com/real estate of Hawaii. It's probably the best way. And just my regular website is realestateofhawaii.com. So, like Lane said, let's jump into things. We have 2022 jumping into the new year for January, but February 1st is actually the new lunar year, right? And so for that, also known as Chinese New Year, it's kind of big in Hawaii. This year, coming year is the year of the tiger. So if you're born in the lunar year of 1962, 74, 86, you're born in the year of the tiger, which is also my year. So what they say about people born in the year of the tiger, and I don't know if this is 100% true, but they're active and full of valor and vigor. They usually act decisively but cautiously, and in the face of setbacks, resilience, or failure, they make prompt decisions and are willing to start from scratch to succeed. So welcoming 2022, and hopefully we'll have a lot of Chinese lion dances and performances. That's actually me in the lion head in Chinatown, getting to bless a Chinese storefront and getting to play with the fireworks, which brings good luck to the local businesses. I don't. What I've heard is this year the Choi Cheng Festival in Chinatown isn't going to be happening as it has been in the past due to obvious reasons of COVID. And man, those spikes are crazy. Have you seen it?
No, but I try not to pay attention to it.
It's like divorce statistics. I feel like when I'm calling friends, and like maybe like the other day I called 4 friends and 2 out of 4 had COVID within their household. So I'm like, I'm like, man, it's getting. But I hear Omicron's not as bad. But anyway, I digress. Like Lane said, let's get through this.
Well,
So,
I want to know one thing. Like, how
mm.
much does a guy have to pay to get you guys to show up at their thing to do the lion dance?
Oh, we can. Well, right now it's getting the staffing, but um,
It's like every
my
other. You got to social distance and that thing.
yeah,
Okay.
we're trying to figure things out. So if you're thinking about something for your retreat, then let me know. And yeah, um, we'll hook it up. My son's club, the Asian Lion Dance team, we're slowly trying to get into active again. They were having practices and things, and we are getting ready for Chinese New Year. But yeah, if you want to let me know. We'll try to get
You don't
some
you
good
don't want to
enough.
say what order of magnitude and how much that costs to
Oh no, I
visit.
think I think our rates pre-COVID we were like for one adult lion head and the full performance but with one lion like how you saw in the previous slide would be like 175. I haven't checked with our leader if we've changed that, but that's what it was
Yeah.
pre-COVID. And but yeah, let me know. Like I said, it's my son's club, but I like to consider myself a member. I help out when I can, but yeah, if anyone's interested, Asian Lion Dance team, Brandon Ho is our fearless leader. So
Yeah. Do it before
yeah,
it goes up to 300 with inflation.
yeah. No, I mean, I was actually talking to him about that, and I maybe with yeah, true, right? Trying to get staffing is so tough these days. But anyway, so here we go for December statistics, and this actually came out today from the Honolulu Board of Realtors, but kind of good because we're looking at again end of December compared to December last year. So if you've been following us over the previous months or even just following the Honolulu real estate market, it's pretty similar story as it has been in terms of our trends. No records broken this month, but for single family homes on that left side, you see we are at 1,050,000 for our median single family price, and that's a very big increase from prior year of almost 21%. Yeah, closed sales are down, I think 10% at 378, and days on market is 11 days on market. On the condo and single family on the right hand side, we have 485,000. Um, Closed sales, we saw a jump from prior year and 593 closed sales, and days on market is 13. Um, as I like to do, I like to jump into these graphics because it kind of I like it tells a good story for to me. Um, so Wahoo median single home prices, I showing you the graph over 3 years. The blue line is the single family and gray is condos. So as you can see, it's hard to tell here, but there's a it's going it's going up in the especially for the single family. It shows a little bit better when I look at the bar graph, right? So here's the same statistics, but in bar form. So on the left, you had the single family. In 2019, you had 825,000 as a median single family, and that's compared that to today, and you have a 27% increase in the last 2 years, right? Compared to the right side, the gray, which is condos, and that you see a 13% increase in the condos and townhouses. So as you can tell, the single family side, they had the greatest percentage of appreciation over the last 2 years. And I guess, like they say, Aline, the rich get richer, right? So the bifurcation between the haves and the have-nots, yeah, is what we're
I'm
seeing.
curious. Do you know by off chance like the high end like Honolulu Kakako condos versus kind of the renter by necessity type condos in Salt Lake, IAEA, those types, like the pricing of those going up in different.
The percentages, I mean, I think it's actually so. To your point, I think the condos have a lot bigger swing in the kakako versus the more affordable homes. I mean,
Yeah.
I have some properties over even further west, in like the couple 100,000 price range. And yeah, we the stuff in the west is not seeing nearly as big of increases as the town and east side for sure. So I don't have the numbers offhand, but to your point, the higher end product, even for the condos, have been going up. But it's definitely single family though. Even a single family on the west side is been skyrocketing, and that has to do a lot with, we mentioned the COVID and the donut effect, and you know, a year and a half ago, people were kind of almost moving away from town and condos, and didn't want to ride in those elevators for wait 3 trips to get to the 40th floor, because they had to socially distance as the association policy, right? So to your point, yeah, Lane, I think even on the condo side, the more luxury inventory has been increased by far. Okay, and so now looking at month supply of inventory, we look at the 1 year trend, right? And we see here again, if you followed us, we see it for single family and townhouses, condos, it going the downward trend, right? So I'd like to take a look at it further out. So let's look at 3 years, again, months supply of inventory. And we talked about this before. So this gray is the condos, and we see this big hump going up and then back down. And we talked about that. Some of this partly due to the COVID pandemic, and also partly to the mandate or the new laws in terms of trying to enforce short-term housing restrictions, or the laws were existing for 20 years ago, but now in 2020 is when they started to say we're gonna start enforcing them. And then again, going out as far as we could for this graph, we went out 16 years for month supply of inventory. And as we've mentioned before, when you're down here, when you're in below 3 months of inventory, it's a very strong seller's market. They say 3 to 6 months of inventory, you're in equilibrium, and anything over 6 months is definitely a seller's inventory. So if that's if there's any truth to that, then you can see that the last time we were in a strong seller's market wasn't and since 2009, 8, 9, 10, the subprime crisis, right? So ever since then, though, it's the month's supply of inventory has been really low, and we've been in pretty much a seller's inventory. And if you look at this last 2 years, or last year, in fact, how low it is, then that's showing that we're even more of a, there's not much inventory, and they're very strong for our sellers. Also like to talk about cyber fraud and scam. So this month I chose this scam, which is apparently, Liam, have you heard Amazon? There's rumors that Amazon is coming up with a cryptocurrency. Again, and that's total rumors, but the cyber criminals are taking advantage of this rumor, and what they're doing is they're running social media ads that have sites that look like CNBC and Yahoo Finance. So the ads claim that the pre-sales for these tokens are starting now. So you click on the link and it takes you to the fake Amazon website. Then it talks about this roadmap of how they're gonna start the process of releasing the tokens. And then of course, if you click on that link, you'll be paying cyber criminals this money, and you'll never see a token in return. So as always, you like to talk about the tips that are recommended, right? So before you ever click on the ad, you can always hover over the link to preview what that link is, because sometimes the hyperlink description is changed on purpose, and it's not actually going to direct you to where it says it is. So keep that in mind. Also look for poor grammar and misspellings in the content. And keep in mind that cryptocurrencies have a range of different origins, structures, and intended uses. So always consider that before going into cryptocurrencies. Yeah. So, at the end of last year, 2021, I got a bunch of calls and some people scrambling because, for example, Ulana at Ward Village, they stopped passing out applications at the end of 2021. But it's not to say that people who are interested are too late. The If you want an application, you always give me a call or contact me. I have applications, and they're not due till February 13th. But don't wait too long because there's a pretty the process doesn't take a long time, but there's a lot of things to fill out. It's a little bit different than other new developments that we've seen.
What
So
is
the
that?
lottery,
Like low income or something?
it's a reserve housing. So if you see in the middle, this is actually one of the requirements or limitations is the maximum qualifying income per household size, and this is basically 140% of the median income in the state. So these are just one of the requirements. There's also like a maximum asset requirement also. So we won't get into details. I didn't push this too much. I do have a video on it on the YouTube site. So just
So
keep in mind. Oh, go ahead.
the entire building is low income?
Correct. This is
Oh, that's
one. This is one of the ways for the developer to fulfill their requirements, because X% of that ward village has to be um,
so they
reserved.
stuff them all into one building.
Yeah. And I'm not sure there might be more too, but so yeah, that's the strategy for, I guess, that these guys are coming up, and
It's
it's
the not
similar.
not in my backyard isn't apply
No,
here.
it's very clear. It's near. They're all near each other. So same thing like Core Ridge. They have townhouses that are reserved housing. Out in Ho Pili too, they all have reserve housing. And they're all run by different authorities, so they have different qualifications. So yeah, if you're interested, reach out to me. The lottery is, again, deadline is the day before Valentine's Day. The lottery is going to be held on the 1st of March, with the selection starting on March 5th. Yeah, and besides that one, people were calling me also about
You rent that
Ililani.
out if you buy it?
So for Ulana, there's restrictions. I think it's 2, 5, and 10-year restrictions for when you can start renting them out. And but you eventually you will be able to. So yeah, that's a tricky one too, because if you're to sell though, you're gonna have to equity share or pay back proportionate portion back to the state, basically.
So you can't just flip it then.
No. Yeah, the authorities have learned from the first ones. I think there are like loopholes before in the other ones, but now they've tightened up the process pretty well, where there's no people in theory can't get around it and flip it or start renting it out right away and become. I mean, yeah. So good question, because I was thinking the same thing, right? But anyway, another property in the Kaka'ako area that has reserved as well as market units are the Ililani Development, which is kind of close to a couple blocks north of Salt, yeah, Lane, and Mother Waldron Park. So there's affordable units, only one bedroom units though, that are still available now. This is not by lottery system. And so if another option for people looking for reserved housing and want to avoid the lottery process. Lastly, what I wanted to talk about was, every time we think of annual things to do, we've talked about vision boards in the past. We've talked about revisiting your portfolio, looking at your balance sheet. One thing that I did recently was I call it insurance checkup. But what I did was, looking at all of my insurance coverages that I have for each property and umbrella, to make sure that everything is kind of right sized, right? So A lot of times we're looking at our declaration page and we're looking at all these different line items and it's like, oh, where did this come from, or what, how is this deductible? Is that, if I reduce this or increase this deductible, then maybe my premium will go down, or is this coverage correct now because now I have photovoltaic on my roof, so that I have additional cost, replacement cost, right? So it's always a good idea to go back to your insurance providers, and it's almost like talking to your financial advisor or trust attorney, where you're asking them, okay, this is my situation now. Does my policy make sense? Can I do different things and change it up? And sometimes it's tied to your commercial or residential umbrella insurance, because your underlying um, plans need to jive with your umbrella plan, or else you'll be breaking the covenants in your umbrella plan. So always good to revisit those things periodically. Um, I found when I did this the other month that I had a potential savings that I wasn't getting, and that was for my was it for my alarm system. So I have a monitoring on my alarm system, and it's monitored by a third party. But apparently, my insurance provider didn't know that. So now I need to provide a certification that I have this third party monitoring, and then I'll get a discount on my premiums. So I guess it's true, right? Or that commercial is like, oh, you can save 15% on your car insurance or something like that.
It's not like the AT&T commercial where it's like everybody gets the same deal. New customers, old customers. Well, insurance, it's like, yeah, if you've been around with the same guy for a while, you're probably getting the shaft deal more than likely. So that's better to shop around. Just like for a job, right? Like if you don't move around, you're just gonna get like screwed over with pay. All the new guys moving around are the guys getting better pay.
Don't get comfortable, right?
Don't get comfortable, but if you do, you get screwed.
Yep. So good point. Very good point. Okay, sounds good. Next, hand it off to you.
So we'll see you in next week, Dean.
Yeah.
We'll be doing the annual retreat for the big Simple Passive Cash Flow clan.
I'm excited.
We have the secret handshakes, no walking over fire, but definitely a lot of practices and swapping of ideas, alternative investing ideas. So what do we got first? Inflation is going up. Look at it's a lot of it's in the food. Seeing a lot of the pieces of smaller ice cream containers. Less, instead of 3 cow bees, you only get 2.
Oh yeah.
Not changing the prices. So some things that are changing out there in the commercial real estate world. CVS planning to downsize some of their footprint. This is probably to do with Amazon coming into the world of pharmacy and just generally less brick and mortar stuff out there. At one time, people would always say, "Well, get your net worth over 2-3 million, get some triple nets, Walgreens, CVS's," but maybe not the case.
Who's gonna be the anchor store now, right?
Starbucks, I don't know.
They're so tiny though, right? And
yeah.
Where are we gonna get our boosters, our annual COVID boosters?
Well, they'll just rely on. They'll just rely on the big pop-ups for that, right?
That's true. Yeah.
City services. Since we are going more to that side anyway, right? All right. ULI, they forecasted GDP shrank 3.4% in 22, the first economic contraction since 2009. Recovery from the pandemic is expected to occur dramatically faster than what transpired out of the Great Recession. Some of these are, gotta go through my notes here. I think I stacked some of these on top of the other. Okay.
It's gonna be really fast. Episode.
It's gonna be really fast this episode.
Let me see if we have any comments. Don't forget to type in your comments or questions, guys.
Reliability of small multifamily tenant space fuels recovery. Analysis of work from home trends finds that small multifamily properties may be less affected than the larger properties because fewer tenants can work remotely. Here is absorption in the last 4 quarters. Seems to be things to be kind of on the rebound in the gateway markets. The gateway markets are your San Francisco's, your Seattle's, your LA's, like those big cities that initially took a big hose down in early 2020. Prices going up from 2020. And this is what we're talking about. Like that's what I was asking you on the rent side. The Class A rents are going much higher than the Class B and C. So that's kind of what you're saying, right? The Class A, the higher end condos are going much higher pricing in relation than the Class C, Class B counterparts. So I think that's the way to go. Like I've actually kind of thought about this recently, where I always say don't buy real estate in Hawaii because it doesn't cash flow. But if you have a boatload of money, what would be safer, to buy high-end luxury in Hawaii, or like houses on the west side?
Don't you? Yeah, but I think that's what some of the these high net worth people across the world are doing, right? And maybe that's what the Japanese were doing back in the 80s, but it's like parking their money here because like how Warren Buffett said, you don't want to lose principal, right? That's the worst thing. So there's theoretically it's a safe place to park your investments as a potential diversification of your portfolio.
Here's another thing that kind of parlays into this. So I was doing some research on like buying a hotel because I was kind of bored, stuck at home all the time, and the research I did was my conclusion was if you want to invest in hotels, you don't buy little crappy Comfort Inns or Holiday Inns or those 2 to 4 star hotels, because in bad times they get hit with recession. People don't travel. It's a very discretionary item, and sort of counterintuitively, you want to be into those high-end luxury stuff like Four Seasons, because as we've seen, as the recovery is happening now, I mean, people that are affluent and rich, they're unimpacted by recessions, and they want to go to their 6-star hotel, Four Seasons. So then I was like, wow, that's kind of expensive, huh? Little me can't buy a luxury brand hotel. There might be some kind of like niche in there with a smaller high-end boutique, but like all the Hiltons, high-end Marriotts.
There might be truth to that. I have a friend that works at Four Seasons, and ever since the traveling and the hoteling industry opened up on Oahu, man, I don't see him anymore because he's working so much, and it's a tennis buddy, so I would see him on the tennis courts all the time during the shutdown because he wasn't working. And so like every day, if I wanted to get some reps, I would go to the courts and guarantee he'd be down there. So, but now I don't see him at all. So Brother Sheldon is working hard over the Four Seasons. But to your point, Lane, I mean, yeah, barring people not even be able to enter the state, then you may be right. And it's all these big conferences too, is what I've been hearing, where they've right when they opened up, they're these concerts that they'd have these big conferences, and it's like all the other ones that we hear about, right? And then he's like, oh yeah, Journey came down and they performed tonight, and then the following night was Air Supply, or again, not big names around my time, maybe not yours, Lane, but yeah,
I know Air Supply.
Yeah, and probably not all the original guys, but they're bringing some relatively big names for these, and maybe depending on what the the clientele and the patrons were, it matched what their genre of music was, right? So, but their point is still paying big bucks to fly in to Hawaii and at these 5-star hotels.
There's a demand for it. People they who have the money are itching right now, and that's the divide. You have the haves and the have-nots. It is what it is, whether it's right or wrong. But if you're an investor, I think you got to get on the right end of that divide.
So with that said, any KPing of hotels?
So here's the thing: like the high-end luxury hotels, they don't bring in private equity, right? Which are like fools like us, right? They go to institutional backers, which just
That's true.
Wall Street type
They're
of stuff.
big public. Yeah.
And from what I hear, a lot of times, like those big brands, they don't really fund the project. They're just lending their names in a way.
Oh,
It's not even their hotel really. It's just the brand, right? And that's and say brand is everything.
so
That's just
no opportunities for like some kind of like boutique, almost like a speakeasy of a hotel. I don't know.
but that's what it is. So like the ones that I'm thinking of is like, we're going to the Lalo, right? That's a good one.
I'm looking
There's
forward to that one.
Kaina, it's all the way near the zoo side. Like those are the examples of if you can go in, buy it for. I think the pricing is like 200, 300 a unit per key card is what they say. But then you got to put a boatload of rehab. Like we're not talking like $5,000 to $10,000 new flooring, new appliances, new countertop. We're talking like 2, 3, 4x that potentially. And you have to be an operator of hotels.
Yeah.
You have to have that. You need to be an operator.
To your point, I was thinking how the rebranding works, right? Because like apartment complexes, I think those are kind of speak for themselves with the curb appeal, but I don't know how it works for the.
I mean, that's why a lot of us invest in single family homes and apartments because it's like there's not much to it, right? But you need a professional to run hotel because it's different animal. You need much more sophistication doing that. But also a lot less competition, right? Like who really has the cojones to go after a hotel?
Right. So quick horror story for the viewers. For single family homeowners or small multiplex. So I actually got a call on New Year's Eve at like 6 p.m. and my property out in Kansas City, but it was a small fourplex. But one of the units, there was a fire, and so fortunately my property manager went out there. The unit itself, there's a lot of smoke damage, and but no one was injured, thankfully. And after the fire department came and the marshal came and they did their thing, and he gave me a final report. I said, okay, go home and try to enjoy the rest of your New Year's. But now I have one-fourth of the units vacant that we have to rehab and file an insurance claim. And
you got lost rent coverage on that thing?
I don't think lost rent. I think there's just if I have to house the tenant somewhere else, I'll get recovery for that. But here's
we gotta bring you to the passive side, man. Lost rents,
No, that's kind of where I was going with this too, right? It's like, you do these syndications and you don't have to get these calls at 6 p.m. on New Year's Eve, right? I mean, oh my! I was calm, cool, and collected just because my property manager is, and he's I have trust in him, and that's the whole point, right? And part of the process. So I knew he would handle it. But point is still, a few of these white hairs came from that call, right? So
you should be excited. This is the opportunity for you to cash out of that thing. Total loss. I mean, I'm serious. I mean, if you this claim is obviously going to be more than $20,000-$30,000 claim, to me, if it's about that threshold, you definitely should be calling a third party public adjuster.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. Yeah.
I mean,
So
I've had 3 major fires. I'm sure the property managers don't tell us all the little candle fires, but 3 major fires. Here's actually one of them right here. It's finally getting rebuilt. That whole damn building burnt down.
which one is this? Which
This is in Irving,
zona?
Texas.
Texas. Okay.
So it's fine. This is a recent picture that I just happen to have. But the whole thing burnt down because of a freaking candle, which is
man.
frustrating. But lost rents covers it to that time, and then now we can go build it with the replacement value, where you insure it to the highest amount, so you can pretty much rebuild it what you want. It's free. Did you have replacement value or actual value
I
coverage?
believe it's replacement. But again, this one is one of the 4 units, so fortunately the damage was more like smoke damage. Yeah. But like you said, the interior is got to be totally redone.
Yeah,
but I think structurally it's okay.
What's your deductible, like $5,000 or something like that?
No, I think it's 2. I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
you're fine, but
yeah,
I don't know. I mean,
so here's another twist. I was also in the middle of trying to refi that thing, so now I think that has to be on hold too.
Yeah,
and that's a bummer because rates are going up, man. Even my loan officer is telling me up.
What you want to find is one of those contractors who knows how to play the game and runs the insurance claim for you. They're gonna know how to milk it as best.
Right.
But I would say, I would just already, because like on one of these, like where the whole building, not the whole building burnt down, but I think making up these numbers, I think maybe the total claim was like 200 at the end of the day, but initially the claims, the insurance company came back with like, we'll give you basically $50,000.
Wow.
So they they bunch of jerks, right? Like you got to get.
It's part of the process. To your point, right? Is the adjuster comes and then they're gonna send their report of what needs to be repaired, and then on your side you gotta be able to have the know-how to counter and say, hey, this needs to be repaired too, because this is no longer functional, and then maybe you'll get a replacement of this that they might have missed, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny we're talking about insurance guys, right? Head of the show. Like, if you think like your sales agent is bad, kind of like sandbagging you on your pricing, think about the claims guys on the other end. They're way, way worse. I mean, they sandbag us like 25% of the money we eventually got when we actually got like a professional to represent us. And then you pay those guys, I think they take a small percentage of the whole claim. But it's well worth it, right? They 4x what you get.
Oh, so you pay a third party to almost like negotiate with the actual adjuster.
But they get paid based on like percentage usually. Like I don't know if it's like a few percent points of the whole thing.
Yeah. So to your point, for big projects like that, they pay for themselves and then some.
Yeah, I mean, anytime it goes over 25, 50 grand, I think it warrants it. But the problem is like, this happened to me too, because like we had like a big apartment burned down, and then I had my little dinky single family home in Atlanta too. And I said, hey, can you help me out here? And he's like, sorry, dude, your policy sucks. Like these residential policies suck. I can't do it.
Oh.
So, but I mean, if you want, I can connect you. But yeah, you got to get representation for sure.
Cool. Good. Good chat. And this is kind of good example of the kind of stuff that goes on in your groups, though. Yeah.
No, but this is more operator school, right? Like people want to get out of this type of nonsense owning rental properties. These are just the useless things I picked up along the way.
Well, looking forward to next weekend for sure, man. And that's I haven't been to either Lalo nor the Four Seasons, so very excited.
Right. Well, I think that will recap the show. Let me get the slide up if you guys have any comments or questions to at the end. But if not, we'll see you guys next month. Have a happy 2022.
Free real estate investing group, check out reialoha.com.